Welcome and thanks for joining us for today's webinar, All Things Cybersecurity. I am Sophie Goodwin. I will be one of your hosts, or I suppose I'm sort of a moderator for today's webinar. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm really looking forward to today. Over to my right, you can't see him yet, but I've got Daniel Lowrie. Daniel, how are you today?
I was hoping you couldn't actually see me at all. I've been working on an invisibility cloak, and apparently it's just, it's not ready for prime time yet. But I'm doing well other than that. Excited about doing all things cybersecurity. This is one of the highlights of my month when I get to do this. We get to come here with you good folks out there. You get to ask us questions. We get to give you answers and maybe even ponder and pontificate about interesting things in the cybersecurity world. That will be a lot of fun for us today, I think.
Ponder and pontificate.
Yes.
Wow. I feel like I'm getting
My word-a-day calendar is really kicking in.
A veritable cornucopia of words that you have to choose from. I feel like I'm getting some bonus content today.
That's right.
Well, we know that you just love to see Daniel and I smiling faces, but we also know the real reason why you're here. We've got a guest with us today. He is basically like our third host at this point.
Yeah.
He is a part of the machine here. He is a cyber researcher, educator, content creator, John Hammond. John, how are you?
Hey everyone, I'm well. This is awesome. I'm super excited to be here with you all and ready to have some fun.
Oh, we're going to have some fun.
Oh, yeah. It's requisite that you will have fun.
Yes.
Otherwise, there will be words.
We're going to have we'll talk to you after the show
That's
about
right.
that.
John, you didn't have as much fun as everybody. And this is disconcerting to us.
We really need
send
to
you a
improve the
survey.
morale.
Yeah, that's right. Now, well, you've done this before with us, and we're so glad to have you back on the show. Obviously, we have a great time doing this. Again, the idea that people get to reach out to us with their questions about cybersecurity. And I love that we can kind of hit the gamut of beginners, people just getting started, to people that have been in the business and just are trying to get our take on stuff, or get definitely your take on stuff, being an active member in Huntress and your day job being there and doing a lot of exciting work on that. I do follow you because you do a lot of interesting things on the YouTubes and the interwebs. So it's super exciting for me, again, to have you back on the show. Has any really fun or cool stuff that you want to kind of bring out and say, oh, over at Huntress or in my day job or just on the side on my YouTube, I really saw something cool. What's the coolest, let me put it that way. What's the coolest thing that you've done or seen lately?
Ooh, super good question. And I don't know, I feel like I might throw out something a little unorthodox because it's not, depending on who you ask or your perspective, is it strict cybersecurity? But I think it's something that is really important because I went to go participate in this awesome event. It was called the People's Call Center. And it's a community of the folks that are scam baiters. So the folks that hey, well, I don't know, you get a phone call, someone saying, hey, this is Microsoft tech support, or this is Amazon, and there's a problem with your order, and they'll try to get a refund, or they'll do some scam, and scams, right? As I'm sure everyone has probably received or heard of. The thing is, hey, there's this community that are trying to go toe to toe and fight the scammers, scam baiting and wasting their time and trying to see how can we bring this sort of thing to law enforcement. And it's really interesting because you get so much cybersecurity in the mix of that. Like, hey, can we do our due diligence to maybe, I don't know, track down a lot of this activity and, hey, fight the good fight, bring out defense for the right reasons. And it's incredible. I had an absolute blast there. It was a life-changing event, and I'm really, really excited for some of the material and content to come out for that. I don't know if folks are following other creators, but there's Scammer Payback or Pierogi, Jim Browning, incredible folks in that community. And it's really, really interesting to have some cybersecurity flair to it.
Oh, I absolutely watch Scammer Payback. That stuff is gold to watch them, like you say, waste their time. I know that historically we've always kind of had, it's been a taboo to do any kind of hack back. But in this instance, it's like, these are literally some of the worst people on the planet using technology for such nefarious purposes, pilfering the pockets of grandma and grandpa out there that just don't have two nickels to rub together hardly anyway. And here they are using their ignorance of technology as a way to steal from them. And that these people are getting in there. I love it that they speak Hindi and all the other languages that these different scammer groups are where they're from in their native language, so they can understand all the stuff that they are saying that normally they get to just get away with because nobody knows what they're saying because they're from a different country. Right. And they're like, oh, it sounds like you just said this. And they're like, uh-oh. And then they start hacking their own machines and delete oh no, I've got your files now. Or just being completely, almost like trolling them. I do love, to me, that's the best part is when they start trolling them really hard and they get so frustrated, start yelling and get upset. it's very entertaining stuff. Are you going to start doing any kind of that stuff? Or is this a new chapter in the John Hammond book where you're going to start trolling scammers?
So short answer is yes. But let me
Oh,
put a
that's
little
awesome.
asterisk and disclaimer on that because like I'm trying to feel it out. I'm very new to that world. I'm just
Right.
sort of grateful for the opportunity. Hey, it's incredible, and I'm just so thankful to let they kind of like let me under their wing and be brought to the fold here. But no, I tried to do a couple scam bait calls. I tried to see, hey, can I get any of those reversals and the spooky lingo and all? Uh, and I'm still making my way. I called a number and I said, hey, is this like Lenovo? And they said, no, this is whatever other thing. And I just said, oh. And it was awkward and uncomfortable because you never think to like do that, to be wasting someone's time on a phone call. And I don't know. It was a fumble. It was a fail, but I got to practice. I got to get better. But I am very, very excited. Hey, can I try to sprinkle in a little bit of that scam bait content and help bring the right fight?
That would be super cool. I can't wait to see that content hit your YouTube channel, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, it's kind of entertaining. So there is that.
I've seen some people do that kind of stuff, the hackback that you were talking about, like scam calls, and it's just kind of fun to watch them get theirs. Like I know you can't always catch them all. Like that sounds like I'm talking about Pokemon, but it's nice to see them finally get that. What do you call that? Comeuppance?
They come up. Yes.
Is that too old of a word?
That's
Yeah,
right.
get their
You'll
comeuppance.
get yours. You rascals,
Dastardly, yeah.
Yes. Well, they're just over there twisting their mustache. Yeah, yeah.
Old Batman comic book
That's right.
words, yeah. Well, you guys, I know that you and John, you guys have met, and you guys are kind of like, you guys are buddies. And unfortunately, John, I have not had the pleasure of meeting you in person, just over a few webinars like these. I did travel to Black Hat this year. We did stop by the Huntress booth, and I was
She
really
doesn't believe
hoping-
you exist, John.
I don't. I'm kind of convinced.
She has told me, like, I never see John in the room with anybody real. He's always on this set.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, he's like a real thing. And she didn't believe me.
Well, I mean, I have to see to believe.
I think it's time to come clean. I am a AI generated Chat GPT 11 Labs like artificial intelligence hologram. So what you see through
Well, our
we have a
intrepid
video for
reporter
that?
here sussed that out.
Yes. We did stop by your booth a couple of times during the conference. And while we weren't able to speak to you, we did talk to a friend of yours, Kyle, and he gave us the inside scoop on who John Hammond really is. So we have some footage of that. We can take a look if y'all want. Are y'all interested?
Let's do it.
Let's go ahead and take a look. We flew all the way out to Las Vegas, Nevada, to Black Hat USA 2023 to see John Hammond. We came to his booth, and he's not here. So I, for one, am sorely disappointed, but I'm here with Kyle to get the inside scoop on what it's really like to work with John. John, could you answer that question for us?
So it turns out John is actually the next generation of generative AI, and most people had no idea as an influencer that's what it was. So Chat GPT, that obviously is what feeds his text, and then obviously plenty of the different deep fake capability, and that's what you get John, and that's why you don't get him here at the booth today.
See, I knew it. I feel like we did a webinar with him at one point. There was a glitch.
Did you hear his voice? I mean, it's just too perfect. It's a little too studly, voice actor-ish quality, and you can't be a voice actor and a security nerd, so.
I think I saw a sixth finger on his left hand at one point. That's how you know he's AI generated.
100%.
So we talk about Huntress sometimes when we work with John and on the podcast, but we don't ever go really beyond that into what Huntress actually does. So could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we are quite literally the largest cybersecurity company most people have never heard of. We have 110,000 mid-market and below businesses that use our software. It's like 2 million endpoints under management, but all those companies are 2,000 employees down to 20 employee companies. So think about your CrowdStrike for the SMB, if you wanted a simple analogy.
Okay. Wow, it's good to know because, like I said, we do talk about y'all all the time and John as well. So next time we do some stuff with John, we'll make sure to harass him a little bit extra on your behalf. Thank you so much for giving us that inside scoop.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
We told you.
That's quite the visual representation. That was beautiful. I am a little disappointed that I didn't get to meet John, but I will get to meet him hopefully later this year. And I'm curious, since I didn't get to meet you at Black Hat when we went by your booth, what did you get up to at Black Hat? There he is.
Oh,
Look at
goodness.
him. There he is.
Yeah. He was regenerating.
That's
obviously.
what he was doing. Yeah.
Right, yeah, in my cryo tube.
That's
or whatever.
right.
What did you go to any
goodness.
talks or trainings or anything like that?
So there's a certain, I think, balancing act for a lot of security events like conferences and trade shows, right? And some that are trade shows and some that are just hacker get-togethers and family reunions, right? So I was hanging out for Hacker Summer Camp, right? The long week in the desert over in Las Vegas, hanging out for Black Hat and DEF CON, B-Sides Las Vegas, if we can squeeze it in. The thing is, Black Hat is a certain amount of work, like scheduled meetings and time with reporters and journalists and calls and PRs and media and stuff. So I kind of had to go run around and do that. And it's very sweet. It's very surreal. Hey, I love the whole, I don't know, shake hands, kiss babies thing. But you don't really get a chance to kind of let your hair down and chill out and enjoy. So while Black Hat was a ton of fun and it is a certain amount of work, I'm stoked for Wild West Hacking Fest and maybe kind of recreate that same vibe like from DEF CON. Hey, I just want to hang out with everybody and be part of the family here.
Yeah, Wild West Hacking Fest is going to be a great time. Sophie is going to be her inaugural Wild West Hacking Fest appearance. So I'm glad that she's going to get to come out and hang out with us, have a good time. We're going to be rubbing elbows with John, other people, other Johns as well, like John Strand. He's a great person to get to talk to, a wealth of knowledge. We've had him on this webinar, I guess is what we're calling it, before, and he's just a great dude, and I'm glad that he eventually put that on one day. I think it was from a bet. I think his wife bet him that, because he said, if I put it on out here, no one will ever come. She's like, I think they will.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, if you build it, they will come.
That's
and
such
they
a
did.
Cool, fun fact.
And it was great. John, you went to Wild West Hacking Fest last year. Was that your first time, or when's your first time?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
So last year was my first time, and I was flattered, just overjoyed because they had reached out and said, "Hey, John, would you be willing to be our keynote or one of our keynotes?" And I was the closing keynote. And I tried to have a funsy, I don't know, maybe a sharper conversation. The title was the thing is like, "Hey, I'm a security charlatan, and so are you." It was meant to be just like a fall on your sword. Look, we don't know what we're doing. We're all just trying to learn and get by. But it's the community and this environment that helps us kind of thrive and keep doing what we do for cybersecurity. So it was a blast, and it's incredible to be there over in Deadwood. And I'm ready for this year.
It's so funny. Like, I don't think people that have never gone to a conference, they don't understand how much we get from each other when we go to these things. 1, 2, 3 days that you're at a conference with somebody, or just all the people that are there, having the conversations that you're having, listening to the talks you're listening to, maybe even having the opportunity to take training, just doing that stuff, kind of like, and you do a couple of those, maybe 2 or 3 of those throughout the year, and it just primes the pump for the rest of your time. And because you pick up stuff you didn't heard of yet, you pick up tools you haven't heard of yet, you get kind of keyed up to people that you've never heard of yet, and then you start going, oh, I got to go down these rabbit holes. And by the time you kind of figure all that stuff out, it's time to go to another conference and do it all over again. And that's some of the best stuff. And you get to network with a bunch of people and get some LinkedIn connections going on. And people are always like, how do you get successful? I get this a lot. You probably do as well. How can I be successful? I'm new. What do I got to do? I want the same kind of success you have. And I was like, don't worry about what success I have or don't have, or you or John or anybody else. Just worry about like getting plugged in, making connections with people. And that is going to lead to a really great career in cybersecurity. So I cannot stress how important it is to, if you can, get your actual physical self to a conference and have a great time doing it. You will not regret that. Is one of the best things you can do for your cybersecurity career. What do you think? Am I off on this, John? Am I just blowing smoke, or?
No, you are on the money. And I try to think, because like the word that I like to use, it's just so rejuvenating. Like I'm like inspired and motivated, and not in some cheesy, I don't know, sentimental thing. It's just like I really want to go home and like I want to get back in action. Like
Right.
once look, it's an incredible amount of time spending time with all these incredible folks, and now I'm like I want to be part of the community even more than I can be. And when you're asking, the whole success thing and big air quotes, right? But like seriously, just be part of the community. It just pays the dividends, and you have so much more fulfillment and meaning when you're part of the party.
Yeah, right. I like that. You're part of the party. That's right. Everybody's having fun. Get your party hat on. Get your noisemakers ready, because it's party time. And we hope to see you there at Wild West Hacking Fest. So definitely, if you get the chance, it's definitely one of the better, in my opinion, it's one of the best conferences that you can attend. Very worth it. The setting in South Dakota is a lot of fun. It's really cool. It's just a great time and a great place for a conference. That said, Sophia is giving me the eye like, hey, enough of your jib jab, Daniel and John. We actually have questions we should probably get to. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Questions are why we're
giving
here.
him just one eye, like a pirate.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. We do have a couple of questions that have come in. We've got people watching on LinkedIn, YouTube, Zoom, so a couple different avenues that we're going to be dealing with here. So we'll start off with one from LinkedIn. This question comes to us from Victor. Now, I think, well, I'll just read the question as it is, and then I'll interpret.
You'll interpret a little bit?
Yes, I will try to interpret. I think there might have been a typo, but I'm not sure. So Victor said, hey, would you consider to be in the top 5 list if AI were to turn on humanity? Now, I'm not sure if he's asking if John thinks that John himself would be in the top 5 list if AI turned on humanity, or if he's asking who is in your top 5 list if AI turns on humanity. I don't know if he means survivors or top 5 AIs that would be responsible for the killing. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'll leave that up to you guys to interpret.
This got dark real quick.
Yeah, well, that's what we do here.
Yeah, I am very not sure what direction this is going.
take the road you think is the best.
Holy cow.
We'll give you
Such
some time.
a whirlwind of emotions.
Yeah.
I'm trying to is this a pointed question of my human survival? Is this cybersecurity and defense aspect? Great, incredible folks.
I thought this was, yes. That graphic just now needs to say 2 days later, right?
I don't know. What's your best guess at the interpretation of that question?
Oh, I doubt highly that I know I'm sure not on that top 5 list
of survivors.
Of survivors, no, I'm not surviving. I will be put into a battery
gone
pack.
very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of see AI for whatever reason. My mind goes directly to the Matrix on this, but so I'll be plugged into a cell somewhere, providing power for our electronic overlords.
Thank you for your service. I'll probably be doing the same thing.
That's right.
Hey, Victor, if you're totally cool with it, please fill me in. I'd love to be schooled. What are you thinking? And what sort of, I don't know, can you capture that a little bit more? If I may, I'd love to offer, I don't know, some of the cheesy thought leadership stuff on the AI revolution.
Corporate synergy.
I have not, and I've said before, I have not drank the Kool-Aid, so to speak, of, the silver bullets, the savior of all of our technology problems with artificial intelligence and machine learning, etc. I do absolutely see the use case, and it is extremely helpful for a whole lot of creative endeavors and efforts. And I don't know if folks were tracking, but it made a little bit of a stir over on Twitter, or X, right? The Twitterverse, and now X. Mark Rosanovich, who's one of the top dogs over at Microsoft and is one of the core creators for sysinternals, the sysinternals suite. He recently shared this post, not a tweet anymore, but a post. He said, look, coding and programming and writing software has been completely changed for me because I spend all this time now kind of just coaching and hand-holding ChatGPT or any of these, I don't know, GitHub Copilot or any of the generative stuff that can help you write code and software. So whether or not you're putting together some exploits to, I don't know, beat up a vulnerability, or just trying to do some simple proof of concept or anything, I'll be the first to admit, I have, I'll go sanity check and check in with ChatGPT. Look, is this code right? Or how quickly can you write this for me so I don't have to? Still with the spot check, still with making sure, is this up to my par for code and stuff that I'm trying to build out? But I got to admit, maybe falling on my sword. I don't know if it's embarrassing to say, I'm relying on this thing to spit out code for me. But you can write so much faster. And that really helps. I don't know. Can I ask you, Daniel, Sophie, are you doing anything with this ChatGPT 11 Labs, blah, blah, blah?
So I kind of want to ride your coattails there for just a second on the idea behind, is ChatGPT this magic bullet and it's just going to write all our code for us and we don't need to learn code anymore because the machine will just do it for us? Is when Mark Rosinovich says, I just kind of coach it along, it's really just the same story, different chapter of what we were doing before ChatGPT came out, because we would just go to Google. I mean, if you're not familiar with the meme, oh, really? So there are a set of books from a publisher called O'Reilly, and they're usually technical books. There's a lot of them anyway. And they have very technical pieces of information inside of them and very clever covers with beautiful animals with a, pen and ink type drawing. somebody memed that and called them, "Oh, really?" And one of them is Googling the code every damn time. Because that's what we end up doing. You don't want to sit there and try to figure out how to code everything. I know what I need to do. I might not know how to do it. So I Google that. And then I read a couple of web pages and go, oh, yeah, that's what I need. This is what I'm looking for. Yep, that works exactly how I expected. And then you pop that in your code. You cut and paste that in your code. Maybe do some minor tweaking to it so that it fits in with all the other things you're doing if you're kind of down the road a little bit. And now we just kind of do that with ChatGPT, which is a bit faster because I don't have to read 3 or 4 websites before I find the right thing. I just have it spat out, and it's not always right, but you go, oh, I see what you're doing there. Yes, let me grab that, let me fix that, and I'm off to the races. So to me, that's exactly where we're at with that thing yet. It's still just a tool when it comes to coding anyway. I mean, maybe we can do all sorts of other stuff. I don't know if it can cure cancer or not, but I'm sure it's working on it.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly, I probably don't use GPT stuff for as nearly as cool stuff as you guys are doing. I know there were a few times where I had to come up with some stuff. I didn't use it for school or anything when I was in school. Okay, I do my own work for the most part, but I did have to. I was trying to come up with some questions for an interview that I had to do, and I had the questions, but I felt like maybe they weren't phrased the best way. So I fed the information. I was like, hey, this is what I want to ask about. This is who I'm interviewing, and some information about them. What's the best way for me to ask this question? And to ChatGPT's credit, I mean, it's a machine. I don't know how much credit I can give it. It's not a person. But, it did spit out, I thought, better questions than what I had. So it was the same information. It just asked it better. And which kind of, I'm like, dang, I was a journalism major and it's doing my job better than I am. So it was a little discouraging, but it was helpful. So I'm using ChatGPT for stuff like that on occasion. Probably nothing cool like coding like you guys are doing.
They're going to rescind your degree.
We get a call from the UF College of Journalism Communications.
Got a clip of you on a webinar.
Why don't you just turn in your badge?
Yeah, let's go ahead and send that back to us.
Yeah, they're going to take away the creds that I don't have.
Yeah.
Well, we've got plenty more questions here, of course, no shortage. But really quick, we had an image up on the screen before, and we had somebody in, I believe, our YouTube chat that said it reminded them of Zordon from Power Rangers.
Oh, it does remind me of Zordon from the Power Rangers. Yes, though it is not that. It's from Star Wars, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably.
Yeah,
I don't
think
remember.
It's the regeneration tank that Luke was in.
Oh, you might be right. I haven't seen any of those movies in a long time. But yeah, who do you guys think did it better? You can let us know in the chat. Zordon or Zorjon.
That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah?
Yes.
Old friend of yours. You can
He was
pull out your cigarette.
After my
way
time.
back.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that name in years. Well, you guys would know better than I would. I think that might have been a little before my time. I'll have to do some research after the show. But anyway, just wanted to put that in there as an aside. But we do have more questions here that we can get to. So let's just go to one from Zoom. We've got a question from, I believe that's Ali or Ollie from Zoom. This person wants to know, what do you prefer, Kali Purple or Black Arch?
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm gonna sit here and be straight up honest. I haven't played with Kali Purple yet, honestly. I know it's been out for a little bit, but it was right when it came out. It wasn't very much longer after that Parrot 5, I think, came out, and I was wanting to give Parrot another shot. So I blew all my Kalis away and stuck Parrot on everything, and I've been basically rocking Parrot for the last 6 months or so. So, and then I think I'm allergic to Arch Linux. It gives me hives. I break out in sweats. I understand its power, and it scares me, frankly.
That is the right answer on Arch, man.
So I guess we can take that to mean that John also prefers Kali Purple. That's the answer?
I don't know.
So I'm long-winded and verbose, so forgive me and tell me to shut up if I'm talking too much. But I'll be the first to admit I have not used Black Arch, just because also in the camp of Arch Linux, super cool, awesome idea. I just don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with the configuration. I don't want to deal with the setting. I don't want to sped it up. I just want it to work. And that's totally subjective. Like, you may have a very different opinion, but I just want to boot it up and then I can go do the thing that I needed to do. So truthfully, I use Kali Linux, and that's my knee-jerk reaction to go use a virtual machine, anything for Linux. I have not dabbled with Kali Purple more than the video that I tried to showcase it, just bring it to life when it was just emerging and breaking news. And if folks aren't familiar, Kali Linux is one of those Linux distributions for hackers or for penetration testers or for offensive security specialists that do like red teaming. So more on the hey, acting as the adversary perspective. And they thought for the longest time, this is super cool to be in the offensive security camp, but what about the defensive security camp? You know, the folks trying to protect network and environment. So traditionally they call that blue teaming. So you mix and blend red teaming and blue teaming, and suddenly you have purple. So that was the gimmick with Kali Purple was like, hey, let's have some SOC security operations center and SIEM tools like security information event management stuff and try to bundle that all up into one easily off the shelf Linux distribution.
And that's kind of cool
I-
for people that are out there
It's
with
awesome.
smaller budgets and things of that nature. They got a much less amount of people in their crew, especially if they might not even have a security staff per se. It might be someone wearing a bunch of multiple hats, still needs to do security. Kali Purple can kind of like tick all the boxes they need in one operating system without having to do a bunch of scripts or downloading a bunch of GitHub repos and stuff like that. So Kali Purple's super cool and a great idea. It definitely has like a niche to it. And it's just, I don't need it. So I haven't really spun it up yet.
Yeah, I think I still have the old virtual machine that I put together, but when I had pulled it all down, it was still very, very new. And I think the sock in the box kind of idea, like all these components and all this different range that you could build out, it was still a little primitive. And I don't think it was all fleshed out yet. I was trying to navigate around the documentation and I was stumbling and bumbling. But I think, and again, I have a whole lot of hope. I know they're going to keep doing some crazy cool and incredible stuff with that. So I'm going to keep an eye on Kali Purple personally.
Yeah, I can't wait for the next iteration. I'll probably spin it up at that point because I also do kind of like let things fully bake before I get into them. Because if you get V1 of stuff, it's usually got some hiccups in its giddy up right before it's ready for prime time. So I like to avoid those and then just because it'll color my opinion of it.
Ah.
And be like, oh, it was totally horrible. I had the worst experience ever with Kali Purple, and now I just don't want anything to do with it. I'll wait until it's fully baked, and then I'll give it a spin and see how it goes.
Okay, let other people experiment with it first.
Yes,
and then you'll give it a try.
Only when
Okay.
it's safe.
Only you're a late adopter. Is that
Yeah.
it? Okay.
Well, and it's just so many of those types of things out there. Like there's Black Ubuntu, there's Predator OS, there's a bunch of them that are pen tester or security minded types of things. And if you want to go into like Adify OS and like Kane, I think there's another desktop operating system called Kane. It's all for forensics and doing that kind of stuff. John, you've done like, was it Remux? You work with those,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
So
Remnux
so
for
many
reverse
different like
engineering.
these specifically built operating systems out there to kind of play around with. It could take some time to work your way through them and actually, other than just, oh, I installed it and I ran it and here's my opinion. Yeah, I can do that. And I have done that. But sometimes when I want to really know that thing, I'm gonna live with it for a little while and see
Right.
if I actually like it or not.
Sure, makes sense. Yeah, I guess I can respect that.
Yeah.
Which is a rare sentence.
I would
for me
love
be saying.
to. I would love to ask that in the chat, though. I don't know anyone tuning in. What's your flavor of choice? Are you Black Ubuntu, Black Arch, Kali Linux Purple, et cetera, et cetera? What's your knee-jerk reaction? Hey, when you're going to go reach for a virtual machine for
That's right.
any of the
Throw
cool
down.
work that you do? I'd love to learn.
Yeah, ask the audience. What do
That's
you
right.
guys prefer? Let us know in your various social media chats that we've got going. And speaking of
That's
which,
right.
we do have questions coming into the social media chats. So
Well,
I've
we
got
have some kind of answer, I'm sure.
we'll see about that. So we'll
Not
see.
me.
You're speaking on John's behalf
Yeah.
here. So we'll go ahead and go to this question. I thought this one was interesting. This comes from Scott. Scott wants to know, he says, a part of learning and pen testing and ethical hacking is failing. So how do you keep yourself motivated to just keep pushing the needle forward?
Ooh, John, I think this is a great question that I would love to hear your answer to.
Super good question. And I think we blend and bleed a little bit into the like imposter syndrome and burnout and a lot of those can of worms. And look, I'll be the first to admit, and I say this publicly a lot, I probably burn the candle at both ends way too often. And I'm a horrible example. I used to just like even say publicly, like, hey, I want to have this cannonball mentality where I just dive into something. Hey, trying to dig into this new certification training exam. I want to do these practice labs. I want to dig into this research for this vulnerability, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to be staying up till 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. I hope the sun's coming up. Looks like I got to go to work again. Like, I've been really bad about that, and I have absolutely hit the wall more often than not. So if you need to ask yourself, look, how do I keep myself motivated? Like the passion is there. I'm going to assume maybe you asking that question, like love this stuff. And I know you're saying, hey, there's a whole lot of this learning that can be really hard, and I know it's time consuming, and that's why I'm staying up crazy late. Uh, but when you feel yourself start to singe at the ends, like the burnout's kicking in, dude, take a break. I've started to embrace that the best that I can. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. You can just get up away from your keyboard and like go take a walk, go outside. I don't mean to say touch grass as some stupid like a mean thing, but literally walk the dog, play a video game. I'm really big on Super Smash Brothers, Rocket League. We all have a guilty pleasure, and I think you can embrace that, and there's nothing wrong with that because otherwise you're just hurting yourself when you can't focus and you can't study and you can't learn as much as you want to.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird phenomenon that when you hit a wall, as it were, and you feel like the answer is right there, but nothing you do gets you there, that you think, well, if I just keep pushing, the answer will present itself, and I just have to go through enough iterations of thought processes, and I'll come to the answer. And that can happen, but a lot of times it's the inverse that happens. It's okay, this is getting me nowhere. Let me stand up and go touch the grass. Let me walk the dog. Let me, get a bite to eat, grab a drink, throw the TV on for a minute, go, make a phone call, just take a walk outside. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I wonder if, I bet that will work. And then you take your little happy butt back into your room and you give it a try. And a lot of times you find yourself at the mountaintop and do that. So there's that. Take pointed breaks to John's point, right? Other than that, just get uncomfortable or get comfortable being uncomfortable. That failure, you're failing for a reason. Try your best to figure out what that is. I'm going to go ahead and give you some permission here because you're probably not giving this permission to yourself. You have permission to look up the answer. So if you're doing a CTF, excuse me, and you hit a brick wall and you might just not know what to do. And Google isn't being your friend at that point for whatever reason. Maybe your Google foo isn't quite on the part it needs to be. Whatever the case is, who cares? At some point, you're either going to sit there spinning your wheels or you're going to learn something and move forward. And it's okay to learn. Failing is fine as long as you are learning. So don't come down on yourself like, oh, I'm the worst hacker in the world. I don't even deserve that moniker, right? Forget that garbage. You are allowed to read walkthroughs. You are allowed to go look it up and go, well, it's not working here. Ask somebody in a forum somewhere. And that gives you time to kind of step away from it until someone comes back with an answer, right? This is all good things. Letting this breathe. You cannot just hit the gas all the way down 24/7. To John's point, you will burn out. You will find it difficult to stay motivated because you're going to hit brick wall after brick wall after brick wall after brick wall because of that. Because you're not actually continually learning. You're just finding ways to fail at that point. So do yourself a favor, try really hard, right? Try to Google your way through it. Try to ask questions your way through it. Try to read papers your way through it. And when that doesn't work, go look the answer up. Because at that point, that is going to be much more sticky in your brain. And this comes from, and John knows this because we're both also trainers. When we train people, it is context around what you're doing that's going to make it stick. And then write that up and make a walkthrough for people that have been in your very position and go, this is how I overcame this problem. I looked it up. And from that, I learned this. I didn't even know that was a tool. And because I didn't know that tool exists, I wasn't able to solve this problem. But once I figured it out, it was like, I learned how to use the tool and you have grown as a hacker. You have added to your skills, right? So it is completely fine for you to Go get the answer from somebody else. John, how many times have you been in a situation where you had to reach out to a peer and go, hey, I'm not fully checked out on this, and I know you kind of are because we kind of, chewed the same grass. Can you help me? And they go, sure.
All the time, if not majority all the time. And hey, very well said, Daniel. Like, that was phenomenal. You do it. Look, do you do this for a living or something? Like,
it's like I've had a little minute in this thing.
Is this your job? Yeah.
So stay motivated. Understand that you're not going to get everything right all the time, and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to get help, and you're not a failure per se because you did that. That's actually how it's done a lot of times. So
it is a team effort.
That's right. That's right. You're not just a lone person sitting in your room somewhere doing this. Most of the time you will have resources, and that very well may be people, that may be, a knowledge base somewhere, whatever the case, it doesn't matter. Just go use it. We don't care how you got the answer. We just care that you got it and that you know what's going on. That's all that matters.
Yeah. This isn't high school math class where they're going to check your method and be like, well, you got the right answer, but you didn't do it the way I wanted. So you get 0.
No one cares.
You get the right answer. Yeah.
Yeah. Right answer is the right answer in the real world.
You
kids.
did it. I think that was very well said by both of you. So thanks for answering that question. Before we go on to more questions, I did want to pull. I know you guys had pushed a question out to the audience about what they prefer, and we see
have some answers.
Yes, it looks like I think. Ooh. Oh, my computer's freaking out. But it looked like Kali was the overwhelming winner here. We had Brian Bauer actually said he liked Parrot over Kali personally, so that's interesting. We did have somebody in the YouTube chat say, I haven't had any experiences outside of Kali Linux. This person uses TCM Security and TryHackMe primarily for learning. And wasn't a big Linux user until recently. Damien says, Kali Linux is the only pen testing distro they've played with so far. They did mention that you talked about Parrot OS on your channel as an alternative to Kali. We had some people in the chat, too, asking, like, when's Daniel going to post again? So you got some fans here.
Yeah, I've been...
Yeah.
Kind of like John mentioned, we burned the candle pretty hard. So things can fall by the wayside fairly quickly.
Yeah. I think in Zoom, though, Kali was the overwhelming winner. We also had somebody in Zoom that, John, you mentioned that you're a bit of a gamer. You play some Rocket League from time to time. And Alexander was confused as to how that helps you blow off steam. He said Rocket League can stress you out even more. So
that is true.
Funny.
It's a limited dosage for Rocket League. It's like, all right, I got to do something else because I'm too angry.
You go from one rage fit to the other.
That's right.
Back and forth.
As long as the rage is moving.
Yeah. It's just that one's your job and the other's your hobby. It's just rage all the time.
Not to nerd out for too long. So seriously, pull me back if this is some horrible tangent or rabbit hole. But like, I know everyone's, I don't know, chatting about these new, hey, flashy flying games to hang out and cool off, get some steam. Whatever it's, I don't know, Baldur's Gate 3 or Starfield everyone's crazy about. I cannot handle open world games. Like, that terrifies me because I just get like decision paralysis. And it's like, well, I just got to go do like my real life. Unless it's like a 5-minute Rocket League game or Super Smash Bros. Things like I cannot physically handle too many decisions, too many character customization. I don't know if I'm just crazy.
John likes the instant dopamine hit.
Yeah,
that's it.
Right. Yeah. Like, listen, I want to parachute in and then pull the ripcord out, and yay, fun.
Anyway, cybersecurity, guys. Right?
There's that. Listen, cybersecurity is a community of people that love cybersecurity, and almost invariably they are gamers.
Yes, the Venn diagram is a circle.
Yes, it is a circle.
I play some LA Noire from time to time myself. That's one of my favorites. It's not quite fully open world, I don't think. I mean, it is kind of limited in what you can do, but man, I like the aesthetics and stuff of that game.
I'm a retro gamer, and the original Baldur's Gate was my jam for a while. I love that game.
All right, I pulled us too far down the rabbit hole.
Questions, my dear. My questions. What are they? Give me one, please. Save us.
We've got a little bug down at the bottom. John Hammond rants, sponsored by Huntress. So thanks, Huntress. Appreciate it for sending John here and letting him rant with us. So we've got a group of gamers here. That's good to know, and some gamers in the chat as well. I'm curious. I'm sure people will start throwing their favorite games in the chat too. So
as they should.
We'll see some of that. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get us off on a tangent. We do have lots more questions to get to. What do you guys say? What do you think? All right. So we've got another question. This comes to us from Zoom. This person asks, what should I learn if I want to build a strong basic foundation in cybersecurity?
What should I learn? You should learn all the things.
Yeah, open-ended question.
John, where would you start? If John Hammond was starting over, day one, man, the cybersecurity thing looks interesting. And knowing what you know now, what would be the go-to? Where would you go?
Daniel, you're gonna hate me
I am.
because I feel
usually
like I'm a broke. Fair enough. I feel like I'm a broken record with this.
Hold
And
on. Can I do
I
my
don't know.
best impression of a psychic? Pico
So
CTF.
I'll take it in two different directions because like I am a huge advocate for capture the flag, and I've said that until I'm blue in the face. I'm screaming and shouting from the rooftops. Like that is how to get some tactical hands on the keyboard, really diving in and enjoying and having fun with learning cybersecurity in whatever direction. Like, hey, web security, mobile applications, forensics, host network analysis, I don't know, binary exploitation, reverse engineering, malware analysis, blah, blah, blah. That capture the flag is in my opinion, the answer. Um, so I just really encourage that. But I know I keep beating the dead horse. Um, I will say that I know if you mentioned, hey John, if you were to go back and do it all over again, I never got, truthfully, like the traditional help desk engineer, system administrator, network architect experience. Like I never, I don't think I got to go through what I would consider like the real grit and work before you dive into cybersecurity in a classic pure play sense. Um, so I really respect and have a lot of admiration for, and I find like gaps when I want to do something. It's like, look, I don't know, printers, domain controllers. What are you talking about? How do I do that?
That is
uh,
funny.
so
I've experienced the same
seriously,
kind of thing myself, so I totally
yeah,
get that. I mean, it's just because
don't,
we can't be everything, right?
yeah.
You
And
were going to
I
say
to say,
something.
don't knock yourself out. No, because I know folks pitter patter on some of those critical roles, help desk system admins, like traditional IT and information technology. It is so necessary. Um, so sorry, I feel like I'm all over the map here. What do you think, Daniel?
Yeah, it's a different world, I think, from when you started, and definitely from when I started. Feel like I'm a bit older than you. That's the gray in my beard would give away.
I got some gray hairs here
You
and
do.
there.
You got one or two. You're reaching me, son. You're reaching me. You'll be there soon. But
These are
which is
dentures.
yeah, that's it. That's it. He has no actual teeth in his head.
AI
But
generated dentures.
yeah. When
Let
I
you go.
started out, there was no help. The only way to get to where you wanted to go was the traditional path. That's why it's a traditional path, because that's where we forged it. Was okay, if you want to get into IT, you got to do a help desk gig so that you can, make your bones, as it were, learn about different systems, learn about different problems that systems have and how to solve those problems, learn to think critically. And then you move into an admin role because now you know a bit about those systems and you're probably a bit of a technophile, right? And then the ball continued down the road. And then as you got past some sort of administration, okay, now you're the security person because, well, you know all the ins and outs of our system, and it's your job to keep it safe. And there are bad people out there. So you kind of fell into that role, setting up, AAV systems at the time. There wasn't a lot of, like single pane of glass type of stuff back at the time. You just installed servers and they ran everything, and that's how it went. Fast forward to today, where you can do exactly what John has said. Go kick around and try hack me, go kick around in Pico CTF, go kick around in Hack the Box, and go to, Security Blue Team and do the Blue Team Labs online, and all these wonderful things are there. So if I was starting and I wanted to build a foundation, I think that, like, because of what you were saying about gaps, right? The one thing you don't want gaps in is in things like operating systems and networks. Those two things are going to shut you down hard. All right. So I would start operating systems and networking. I need to know at least more. I need to be a power user of Windows operating systems, of Linux operating systems, and of Mac OS. So, and with power using on Mac OS, it's quite a less, it's just helpful. And if you know a bit of Linux, you can probably tool around on Mac OS pretty well, right? So you get those two dogs out of the way, you know a bit about those. Like you said, I don't know anything about AD. Okay, cool. Since Active Directory is going to be one of the majority of the things you're going to be doing, if you get into a pen testing role, you're going to be pen testing Active Directories almost invariably. So you better learn a thing or two about that. Maybe even pick up a certification or two. Don't have to. It's not necessary, but it helps. to fill those gaps in. Because if you're over there running responder and you have no idea why that works or what you can do with the output of how, when that happens, or why that works with the output. And then when your client goes, okay, you ran this responder tool, you captured a hash, you did a pass the hash attack and it worked. What do we do to fix that? Yeah, that's not the answer you want to give. Right? Yeah, that's a great question. Is that Elvis? Right? No, you want to be able to go, here's what that is. Here's why that works. Here's the things that you can do. We would be more than happy to come alongside you and help you bridge those gaps and fix things. That's where you eventually want to be. Knowing those operating systems is very helpful for doing that and understanding that knowledge. Networking, John, you ever had somebody go, I watched your YouTube video and it didn't work. The thing you showed me, it wouldn't make the connection. Well, cool. Are you on the same network? Did you troubleshoot the network problems first? Because if it can't talk over the network, then it doesn't matter what you do. If you followed me step by step, it's not going to work. So
I get some adorable and lovely, cute emails when folks tell me I'm being hacked and I see malicious traffic on my computer. I see their IP address and it's 127.0.0.1 and I don't know they're hacking me. Can you fix it? So yes, I'm sorry. I don't mean to poke fun at the point, but
well,
the basics.
A good little sarcasm can go a long way as a healthy dose of cure for our ailments. So if we just kind of make it a rough spot for you, you start to understand that if you don't know how networking works, when you see 127.0.0.1 on your cool little tool, you go, oh, that's me.
Yeah. If anybody can speak to the effectiveness of sarcasm, I feel like it's you. You're probably the expert on that.
It's worked wonders with you.
No kidding. That's why I am the way that I am, or partially at least. You're partially responsible for that. Speaking of sarcasm, we had somebody, well, I guess not speaking of sarcasm, I'm not going to be a jerk about this. I think we had some people that saw our thumbnail for the webinar and maybe saw like our About Me sections and some of the information about us. Maybe they're first-time watchers, and they thought maybe we were going to talk more about that. So somebody had a question about the ISC2 CC certification. I obtained that certification back in April. I passed the exam. Since we're talking about entry-level type stuff, what we can do to get our start in cybersecurity, I would say that's a pretty basic beginner-level certification if you're looking for that kind of a thing. I know you guys talked about how maybe a few certs can help you. They're not everything. They're not the end-all, be-all, but they can be helpful. So if you're looking for something that's geared a little bit more towards entry-level cybersecurity stuff, I would definitely recommend that. It was not... I've had a couple of years where I've picked stuff up here, but I'm by no means an expert. I have not been working in this field like Daniel has for the past several years, but I was able to, with some studying, I was able to pass
shattering the illusion.
Yeah. No. You can ask me all your questions. Yes. I'm dressed like a librarian. I know everything. So I mean, even not knowing, everything there is to know, I was able to study for a bit and pass that exam without too much difficulty. But I did do some studying. So if you're looking for something that's for beginner level, I would recommend checking that out. It's ISC2 certified in cybersecurity. So for people that were curious, we had some questions about that. So I just wanted to make sure that we touched on that. I have also been told by the voices in my head to draw attention really quickly to our lovely little bug down at the bottom. Daniel does not hate John.
ACI legal team.
Little note. Got to cover ourselves
For
here.
legal reasons, this is a joke.
I've been told by our
expressed
team.
in this webinar did not reflect that of ACI.
Tweets are my own, or I'm sorry, posts are my own. Yes,
That's
they
right.
do not reflect the company's opinion. So we've got to cover our tracks.
That's right.
Oh, and then
Make
I
sure the
said something on YouTube about somebody asked if I was going to do some teaching here, if I was going to be a subject matter expert, and I was kidding, but I said I would have to fight you to the death for that responsibility. I was kidding. I was just kidding. I also said that John's a Rocket League expert or something. I was kidding. I was just kidding. All right? All jokes here.
Satire,
don't take
folks.
anything I say seriously.
Satire.
Because I'm not trying to get in trouble. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to get fired. So don't take that seriously. It was just a joke.
Talk to your doctor.
Moderate to severe plaque
That's right,
psoriasis.
that's right.
So we'll go ahead and move on before I get myself into more trouble. We have obviously plenty more questions here we want to try to get to before the end of the show today. This question comes to us from Ryan on Zoom. Ryan wants to know, he says, I'm on a newly developed red team. We need to start creating documentation. Where do you recommend I go for resources?
Ooh. Man, I wish I had my laptop in front of me because I have a resource for that.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
I could do some Googling. If that would be helpful.
I have it at yes. I've got a bookmark
Oh,
on my webby thing,
that's unfortunate.
my browser.
Do you remember anything about it that I could quickly Google?
it's red team something hacks. I forget.
Red team hacks
listen,
something.
I go through so much of this stuff. There's no possible way I'm going to memorize every little link, but I do have that. SANS is probably a great resource, right? Because they do a lot of training and they have a lot of great free resources to help you get down the road with X, Y, or Z. John, you got anything off the top of your head for someone who's building a team and needs to get all their ducks in a row?
Yeah. So I was trying to think, hey, again, how are you capturing a lot of that documentation or resources for what specifically? Because red teaming is pretty big and vague, right? My knee-jerk reaction says, hey, if you haven't seen some of the stuff from 0 Point Security, Daniel Duggan and the folks behind like CRTO, or the Certified Red Team Operator, literally named Red Team Operating.
Great plug.
He has some fantastic stuff. And a lot of the learning between different command and control frameworks, or how you can set up some infrastructure with redirectors, yada, yada, yada. One thing that I would love to maybe call some attention to, because I think it really helps with tradecraft, because I know a lot of folks know of like living off the land resources, or like binaries or programs and executables that you can run on a Windows operating system or the computer that you happen to land on when you're hacking and cracking away. But it's fun because there are so many different kinds of resources like that, like LOL bins, LOL, living off the land binaries, or even some things for the Linux end of it, or some things like, I don't know, they're trusted sites, things that you can use to redirect payloads for stuff for your penetration tests or red teaming. So if I may, I would love to drop one cool resource that I found that is the resource of all resources. It's called lolol.farm, LOLOL.farm. And the gimmick and joke is it's literally living off the land, because you'll see a reference and resource for like, hey, how can you be doing some stuff in Active Directory? What about these different file types? What about malware Win32 API function calls? Or what about the Mac ecosystem? Lolol.farm, if that's not crazy enough to say. But seriously, go take a look. It's everything that you've already seen and more.
And hey, if we can get like some sort of contact information, I will find that link and get that to that person. So
I think the voice in my head said they might have something on the bug that we can take a look at. Is that what you were talking about? Oh, okay. I thought this was I thought it was a serious inquiry. Thought they did some research, found something. I'm sorry, I was wrong.
Yeah, Google will find things.
Uncle
That's
Google
true.
knows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Uncle Google's. Red team hacks something. Quote by Daniel.
Yes.
Awesome. Put that in a book somewhere.
Not this Daniel, but
Sure. Yeah.
oh,
okay.
that's the link, right? Red team hack something.
That is, yes. Red team
gotcha.
hacks something from Daniel.
Very clever.
You can thank him for that source. Okay.
I'll see
sorry,
you all in the parking lot after work.
Fight to the death. I was
That's
kidding
right.
about that. That
That's
was a
right.
joke. What
Thunderdome.
was that thing the YouTubers did? Creator Clash or something?
I haven't seen that.
It was like, yeah, all these YouTubers got together. Yeah, internally, that's my feeling about it. It's like iDubbbz and a bunch of other YouTubers decided they were going to box each other. I don't.
Super cringe. Yeah.
Yeah, the cringe clash is what they should
the
have called
cringe
it.
clash.
That's what we're going to do here. It's going to be the Edutainer clash or something. I don't know. We'll think of a name.
Are you
for it.
saying, yeah, you don't want to get me up in the boxing ring? You know me? I don't know.
If you want to fly out, we'll figure out a way to
That's
get you in
right.
the bracket. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be like March Madness, but it's just year-round madness here at IT Pro. So we'll go ahead and move on before I get myself in more trouble. We'll go ahead and move on. We've got more questions coming in. I'm going to go ahead and pull one from LinkedIn. This one comes to us from William. William wants to know, what is everyone's favorite hypervisor as well as favorite text editor?
That's none of his business. Just kidding.
Excuse me.
That's a very personal question you've got there, sir.
Yeah, a hypervisor killed his parents.
So hypervisor
can't
and
believe
text editor. John, what's your go-to?
Yeah, let's do some rapid fire, because I know we are cutting down on some time. But I use Sublime Text as my text editor of choice, I will admit. And I'm a simple fella. I just used VMware Workstation for virtual machines. I am finding a love for Hyper-V, I got to be honest, just because a lot of the Azure or Windows worlds that I'm starting to dig into a little bit more. But no, plain and simple, Sublime Text and VMware Workstation.
Yep. I probably work in VirtualBox more than I do any of the VMware Workstation or Player, but I still use both. I still use all of those, but mostly VirtualBox, because a lot of the, CTFs and things like that, a lot of them will just run in VirtualBox, where some of them, they'll have trouble with networking and things of that. If it was built in VirtualBox, because it's free, a lot of them are, And when you try to like migrate over into VMware, it just goes, it didn't work all the well. And I has the dumb, I can't think. And you're like, stupid thing doesn't work. I got to open up VirtualBox. So typically just lean on VirtualBox for the most part. For my editor of choice, I have been using Pluma a lot because it comes baked in with a lot of Linux systems. But other than that, I will download Sublime Text or just lean on Nano or something. But yeah.
So you, Sophie, are you Emacs? Are you Vim? Are you
She's
Sam?
writing games in Emacs.
Yes, that's me. I can't speak to hypervisors. I honestly, I feel like a lot of the questions that get asked here, I can understand what you guys are saying, but personally, I can't speak to it because I don't do a lot of that in my day-to-day job. But I do.
Will.
Eventually, I'll get there. I've got plenty of time, years to get to that point. But I do, honestly, as far as text editors go, I don't, when I need to write something down or do something, a lot of times I just open, Notepad on my computer. I just type in Notepad.
That's legit.
I like they have like a sticky notes. I don't think this counts, but they have a sticky notes, like a virtual sticky notes thing that I like to use. WordPad, I guess, would be another one, but I think Microsoft is giving,
bye-bye.
They're giving they're giving WordPad the boot.
Yep. May it rest in
done.
peace.
Yeah. R.I.P. WordPad.
That's right. Here's where the memoriam
pray for you.
comes
Your
up.
service.
Yes,
Right.
in memoriam. I don't even know. I would have to look up the year the year it came into being.
Yeah, that's right.
So no more WordPad if that's your favorite.
Come on, we got a
Sorry.
couple minutes. Give me another
We got
one.
a couple minutes. We got another one from Zoom. This person wants to know, which cybersecurity communities do you recommend I join?
All of them.
Quick and simple.
John, you got a Discord, don't you?
I do have a Discord.
That'd be a good one.
And
Plug
I'm
John's
so
Discord.
blessed and fortunate that is a life of its own, and thankfully is self-sufficient. Man, I'm so bad because there are so many incredible communities. Just kind of bebop around to everything and everyone that sounds interesting, and then see if you find a bit of a niche and some home there, because there's so much. But just be with the people that you learn the most from and enjoy being with.
There's a good Red Team subreddit. I would check that out. That's always a good one to kind of haunt around from time to time. Pick up some good information there. Man, there's just
some of the love for Wild West Hack and Fest. Again, some of the love for that. The
Absolutely.
Black Hills Information Security Discord is a beautiful place.
Yeah, don't forget
Wonderful to spend
Red
time
Siege
there.
with their Wednesday Offensive. You got Jerry Ozier's community with the people doing Simply Cyber. Neil Bridges, he's got a great, little community going on as well. Lots of good ones out there. You just kind of get plugged in, start bopping around. And what's cool is one will rabbit trail you to the other, and you'll just kind of make your way around. And once you come back home, you'll be like, okay, here's where I really enjoyed. And then you can just kind of hang out there, and you'll be a part of that group.
Like a buffet.
Yeah.
Take a little bit from each, see what
That's
you like.
right.
Okay.
The prime rib was delicious.
Yeah, so I guess maybe we can get people to check out John's Discord as well,
Yeah.
if we can get the name for that. Do you think we have time for one more real quick?
Sure, go.
All right. So this one comes to us from a different Dan, not you. A Dan from Zoom. Dan wants to know, why do you guys think there are a lack of entry-level roles?
I've got opinions on this, John. I'd love to. Our last question is probably
I don't know if
the
we have
most
enough time.
profound.
Oops.
John, why do you think there's a lack of entry-level roles there, my friend?
I'm super sorry. Can I kick this to you so I can sort of like gather my
You're gonna
thoughts?
okay.
Do you have like a
You've got opinions.
snapshot answer? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be able to like really drill down into it just because we don't have the time for it. But what seems to be, and I could be absolutely wrong on this, but what seems to be the issue is that we have overstated what we mean when we say, or we've understated. I guess that's the way to put it. We've understated what we mean when we say cybersecurity. Right? Oh, there's like 1 million cybersecurity roles out there waiting for everybody. And obviously, you can't have 1 million roles and them all be in the beginner space. 2, it's cybersecurity is the thing that usually people have some experience already when they come to that. So entry level is still kind of like a thing or two about IT at least. You've kind of been around the block a little bit, not all the time. And it's totally possible that that's your first thing to do. So it's been my experience, this is anecdotal, that most people, they don't need entry-level people. They need people with experience. And that is very condensed down what seems to be the issue. Why there's not a lot of entry-level jobs. They just don't need entry-level jobs. They don't have time to get you spun up. Now, when you find those, they're very coveted, and therefore everybody and their brother jumps on it and sees, oh, there's Naomi Buckwalter is actually a really good plug right here, because she kind of like, that's her thing, is finding and creating and helping people get those entry-level positions and helping hiring managers know what to look for and how to create entry-level positions that they need that they don't know. So it's one side of the fence, is that the business doesn't realize what an entry-level position is, and therefore they don't properly put it out there. They might label it entry-level, and it's actually kind of beyond that. And the other is they obviously need people with experience already. So it can be this weird thing. So John, again, I don't have enough time to really flesh this out.
Yeah, can I dance with this
Please,
in 10 seconds, or are we cut off? Do we run out of time?
No, we're good. You keep going.
Keep going.
So maybe I'll be a little bit more like combative and adversarial here and get myself on the naughty list. But
I can't wait.
I will go out and just straight up say, like, there are not enough companies willing to train and get you spun up, because as Dan was just saying, like, absolutely, they just want the solution. They want the ready-made role that they can just hit the ground running and accomplish what they want for that job. But there needs to be, and maybe this is my slap in the face, like, you need to invest in your people and get them educated and spun up and trained. So, like, be willing to take on the entry level role, and I'll put that in air quotes. But it's like, hey, no, just come under the wing, and let's keep the party going together.
I'm going to double down on
I don't know.
that, and I'm going to say that cybersecurity needs to have like more apprenticeships, more internships. Like, throw it out there, man. We working with someone that has that capability is the best training you can get, right? So if you put it out there, hey, I can't pay anything, but if you want to learn this stuff, Jill, Bob, and Joe over here will shepherd you, and you can kind of like get coffee and do all the work that they don't want to do. But you get to get hands-on experience, and that is worth its weight in gold, because then you get to say, no, I'm good. I'm checked out. I no longer need an entry-level position because I've already kind of worked that, and I can jump on those other opportunities as they arise. Plus you get your name out there. So I would love to see our field have more apprenticeships and internships, where we are shepherding the people that have been there and done that, are shepherding people that they work with, and getting them spun up so that we can retire and they can take the baton from us. End of sermon.
Close your Bibles. We're done.
That's right. Let us pray.
I would say that was I think you guys wrapped that up pretty well. I'm sorry. I know that we went a little bit over time, but really quick before we wrap up, John, I want to give you an opportunity. If there's any social channels or anything like that, I know you mentioned your Discord, anything you want to plug, I want to give you a chance to do that right now.
Oh, goodness. Hey, thanks so much.
No pressure.
You see me on the internet, come say hi. YouTube, yeah, Twitter, you know where to find me. I got the stupid red hair, pretty hard to miss. So please say hello, and great to be hanging out with you all. Thank you.
Yeah, they're playing the music like we're at the Oscars. So
That's
thanks
right.
so much for joining us for this, John. We really appreciate you having you here. You will see us hopefully at Wild West Hackin' Fest, right, in a couple of months. We've got another All Things Cyber webinar coming up in October, so stick around for that. And I think that's pretty much it. Use that code Daniel30 for 30% off your IT Pro membership, just like always. I'm Sophie Goodwin for Daniel Lowrie. Thanks for joining us.